Okay, so today is going to just be a general introduction to Apptivo. The goal of this webinar is to, one, explain what Apptivo is and what it could accomplish for your business, but then also to give you the idea of how you can go ahead and get signed up for Apptivo and get started with it today. So we're going to show you through all the core features and the common components of Apptivo, teach you how to navigate around, and give you some guidance as far as moving forward, getting support, and customizing Apptivo for your business. All right, so first off, what is Apptivo? Apptivo is an online suite of business management applications. We're specifically designed for small business, and we've developed all these different applications. But because they're all built by our team, we've been able to stick to a few consistent qualities. One is the ease of use. We've been heavily focused on making every application very consistent with each other, making all these features very familiar, and designing an intuitive interface so it's simple for anybody to get started with Apptivo. Second is the affordability. We'll talk about the pricing in a little bit, but basically you get every single feature and application inside of Apptivo all for just $10 per user per month, which is really better than just about anything you can find on the market. And the last key of Apptivo is the integration across applications. So our system has all these different apps. They're available in one platform, and it's one of the only systems that can give you a true 360-degree view of a customer, for example. So with that, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the applications. Apptivo is a suite. We've got 50 total apps, but what we've done is we've broken them into categories that you're probably a little bit familiar with, such as CRM, for example, lies at the heart of everything. And the CRM system helps you manage contacts, track sales, customer support, things like that. But we also have all these different modules, such as financials with invoicing, project management, supply chain, human resources, and more. And what you'll end up doing is you can pick and choose which applications you would like to use that are relevant to your business, and you can end up building out a complete end-to-end business flow. So what we're looking at here are a couple example flows of what you might be able to achieve with Apptivo. So here we can see the three most popular solutions people utilize are for three specific types of business profiles or business models. The first one that we're great for is a professional services company. And they need to bill their clients maybe in phases or hourly based on the services they're giving to them. And typically, they can make use of the project management app to track all these services going on. Then the service delivery company is somebody who needs to send employees off on site to go maybe install equipment, to perform maintenance, and they need to track the materials and labor that they're spending on each one of these jobs. The last core solution that we offer is for a manufacturing or distribution company, the product sales process. And this is where we make use of the supply chain suite. We have purchase order management, shipping management, inventory tracking, and much more. But one of the keys of Apptivo is we totally understand that 50 apps, that's a lot to take in. Not every company wants to go ahead and automate their whole end-to-end business process at this time. Maybe you already have some software in place that you're very happy with. Maybe you simply don't have the need for some of our modules. So that's one great thing about Apptivo is the ability to deploy it however you need. So if right now you're just in the market for an invoicing only solution, very simple to set up Apptivo and just turn on the invoicing app. Later on, maybe you become a little more familiar with the software, you're ready to adopt some new practices, and now you can say, add on a sales and quoting process to the invoicing app. Or you could just go start from day one and adopt a complete end-to-end solution like we see here on the end. Completely up to you. Now, as far as how you're going to access Apptivo, we're completely based in the cloud. What this means is no matter where you go, as long as you have an internet connection, you're going to be able to get to your business data. The primary way you do access Apptivo is through just any web browser you have, but we also do have a couple mobile applications. So you'll be able to download our mobile apps on your iPhone or Android, and they cover just about the entire CRM suite in addition to some basic invoicing capabilities. And that's enough for diving through the slides. Let's go ahead and take a look at the application itself. So here we are. We're on the Apptivo.com website, and I've already typed in my email and password. Each user will be able to get their own email and password to access the system. And once we log in, we're presented with our central user dashboard. So Apptivo is this unified system. We have all these different apps, and they help you manage specific business processes, such as your billing or your sales or your project management. But throughout all these different areas, you're always going to have things that you need to do. You're always going to have your agenda, these various business activities. You're sending emails. You're setting reminders for yourself to do something the next day. You're putting an appointment in, or you're recording a phone call with a client. All of these different activities are actually handled the same throughout every application in Apptivo. So if we look over on the top of the page, we see the black navigation. This is how we go and we get into one of the apps. So for example, if we wanted to go add in a new sales lead because a prospect just called us, we could go into the CRM and pick the leads application. And then we could go put a lead into there. Or we could go into one of the other apps. So you see actually everything is available right here. And let's just quickly talk about the App Store before talking about those collaboration features again. So the way that you add or remove apps from this list, we were talking about kind of customizing your own solution. It's all based around this App Store here in the upper right corner. So one of the first things that you're going to do when you get set up with Apptivo is you're going to come to this App Store and figure out which applications that you would like to use. So you can actually browse through here, app by app, and you can pick from each category. So for example, when you see in the CRM category, I have each one of these apps added. But let's say if in one of the other categories, I have an app and I don't need to utilize it. For example, I don't have shipping in this company. It's very, very simple for you to go through, and you just get to click on these buttons, and that will actually add or remove the apps from your setup. So the whole process of going in there and picking your apps, it actually just takes you a few moments to customize your own navigation. And you can even pick your top 5 apps right here. But let's take a moment and talk about these collaboration features. These are core business utilities. These features are available in every single app. But when you're putting tasks in, so you're putting in a reminder for yourself to do something tomorrow, you might have a reminder to call a customer, like a new prospect tomorrow. Maybe you have a reminder to follow up on a problem reported by a customer last week. Maybe you're working on a project and you need to remind your colleague to complete a task. Many different reasons you might want to put a reminder for yourself into a system. But one of the core problems right now is if you have 3 different systems, you have to check 3 different spots just to figure out what you need to work on today. So what Apptivo does is instead of having 5 different task management systems, we have one tasks feature. This task feature is available everywhere. So I can put a task on a customer, I can put a task on a project, on a work order, on an invoice. Everything allows me to put a task on it. And the idea is regardless of what I attach a task to in Apptivo, I get this one unified list. So when I log in the morning and I need to figure out what I'm working on, all I have to do is look through my central homepage dashboards, and I can get a complete overview of everything that not only myself, but even my colleagues are working on. So you see, it's very simple to go and change that, and I can look at every task across the entire business. Now, the only other thing I want to show you on this homepage right now is this newsfeed feature. So once again, this is a central business level feature, and what the newsfeed does is that it actually tracks all the various activities going on in your company day to day. So whenever somebody follows up with a customer, when they pay off an invoice, if a project is completed, any events like that will get recorded right here. It will show you who completed it, when it was completed, and you can even click on this to go find that relevant data. So if I see that Kenny created a new invoice, I can click on this link right here. It'll take me into the invoicing application, and I can instantly view the details of that specific invoice. So that gives you a feel for kind of these central business collaboration features. Let's go ahead and take one moment to answer a quick question. So we have a question. Why would I ever invoice with Apptivo? I already have an accounting system. What would the advantages be? What would the workflow be if I eventually have to get an invoice into my accounting system, which is QuickBooks? And that's a very great question. So one of the key advantages of using our invoicing system is the capability to have a built-in business flow. So if you have a system like QuickBooks, it's not a CRM system. You don't have the sales tracking going on. You might not have all of the sales that can go get converted into a quote, which can go to, let's say, a project, or there's no work order management system. The key behind Apptivo is you're already managing the delivery of your service or your product to your customer using some method. So I'm tracking all my services in this project. And then instead of having to, maybe export my data or write down all the hours that I've logged, I can actually just go look at a project in Apptivo and hit Generate Invoice. So let's go ahead and just take a look at how simple that is. If I've got a project right here, there's a built-in flow straight to an invoice. And that's the key advantage of Apptivo, is to be able to take the data that you've already been tracking just in the delivery of your service and being able to instantly transfer that onto an invoice. One other key advantage is the archiving capability. So I mentioned one of the best things about Apptivo is the integration, giving that 360-degree view of a customer. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the customer right here. Everything in our system is interlinked. So straight from a project, I could click to a customer. Just like clicking from an invoice, it could go to a customer. But now, let's say I want to look at a complete history of every invoice I've delivered to this customer. I can go to the 360 view. I can change this drop-down. And there we have it. This is a complete history of invoicing that I have just for this customer. And you're not going to be able to get this sort of flexibility in any other system because, yeah, I can get the list of invoices for a customer, but what if you wanted to look at the list of projects for a customer? Or a list of sales opportunities you processed for this customer? What about the estimate you sent to them last week? This is the true advantage of Apptivo, is we are a unified system. In QuickBooks, you're going to have fragmented information. All you're going to be able to see is the financial data, whereas the Apptivo system, it's all hooked up to our CRM. So you're going to be able to see not only just the financial data, but every other piece of data in the system. But Apptivo is not an accounting system at this point. We are excellent at tracking sales leads, delivering your service, generating the invoices, collecting revenue. We don't have a thorough ledger. But for you QuickBooks users out there, we actually have a feature to handle this perfectly, which is I can run through, I can look at any set of invoices, and I can download an IIF file, which will import straight into QuickBooks to kind of tie off your process. Okay. So we took a little detour to run through that question, but we did get to see a couple of the common features. So what you just saw me do was go between multiple different applications. I was able to quickly look at a project, go look at the customer profile who we're performing that project for, and then I could find all the other data related to that customer. And I'm really glad I got to show you that flow, because that's actually one of the most common activities that you're going to be doing in your business day-to-day. You're going to be looking up your data, you're going to be hunting down historical information, and then you're going to be putting in reminders for future tasks that you need to work on. So let's dive a little bit more into that. Let's head over back into that Customers app, which is your central customer database, because this is a great app to demonstrate how to sift through your data and how to look up historical information, just like we were doing a moment ago. So what you see is I just clicked on Customers up here. And as soon as you go into any app inside of the Apptivo platform, what you'll notice is instantly we get this bar across the top. It'll tell you exactly which application I'm currently in. If I want to search through the data just in this application, I have a basic search and also many advanced search capabilities. And we have a bunch of basic filters over here in the left column. So for example, I could browse all of my customers by a specific sales territory that I've grouped them in. But the searching capabilities in Apptivo are very, very flexible. We allow you to search based on anything, and then we can change all the information displayed to fit what you're trying to do right now, and we can even save views for later on so you can get the custom reporting capabilities you need. So let's talk about that real quick. Let's say that I'm going to run a promotion, and I want to send this promotion out to all of my customers located in a specific region, but also of a specific category, like all of my residential customers located in California, something along those lines. So what I'm able to do is use these search features, and I can select, okay, residential. I could select some others if I want. And then I could come through, and I could group by, let's say, the state of California. And now I get to execute that search. See, we only have one result here. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and run a different search just so we can get a better view of the data. And once you execute your search, what I can do is I can actually change the data that's displayed here. So in this scenario, let's say I want to email them, but I also want to see their address details to know where they're located. I can actually change these columns very easily by just going through here, and you'll see exactly which columns are currently displayed by the ones that are checked off, and I can just remove the ones that I don't find relevant at this time. So I can go through, get rid of the phone number, and keep their email, and then maybe I just want to go throw on a couple of their basic details. So you'll be able to go through all this, pick exactly what you want, and then you'll see that instantly it's updated the columns that I've seen. And at any time, I can go ahead and save this as a view. And the benefit of that is everything that you save for later becomes available in this My View section down here. So you can see I have many different customer reports all saved away, and each one of them has its own set of filters, will display a different list of data, and it will display a different list of columns based on whatever I had selected before. And that's going to be available in all the different apps. It should just be very, very simple for you to find anything you're looking for. Well, let's talk about once you've found a record. So let's go look up the history of a customer, and let's take this in the scenario of in a real life scenario, which is a customer calls you up. You are one of the customer support people, and maybe you have a couple other team members who've been working with this customer. They have a couple sales opportunities in progress. You're also running a project or two for them, and they've been your customer for a while, so you've done some invoicing. But each one of those activities was handled by a different person in your company, so you're not necessarily knowledgeable on this customer yet. They call up, they say, "Hi, my name is Jake, and I'm from Maxilon, and I wanted to check on the status of the deal. I mean, have you been able to get us a quote yet?" So you don't really know, but you can quickly run into your CRM. We're going to bring up this Maxilon client. And once we're looking at the details of this customer, we're going to be able to flip between these tabs that we see on the top of the page, and we'll be able to figure out everything we need to know about them. So if we just wanted to quickly figure out some basic details about this customer, like the name, where are they located, who is their primary contact, details like that, every piece of information on a record is stored on this main overview tab. So you'll see there's all these different fields here, and I can easily change them. So if I want to change the category of a customer, if I want to assign the customer to somebody else, very simple to make modifications here. But each one of these fields is actually customizable. So you'll see down here I have some items that, well, they don't look like they come standard with Apptivo, and that's because they don't. These are actually custom fields that I've added in myself just for this one test business. So even if Apptivo comes with fields like phone number, address, and email, things like that that are basic and relevant, even if you have additional details that you need to store in the system, it's very easy for you to come in here and you can actually create your own structure. So what Apptivo provides by default is simply a template for your business to get started with. You're definitely encouraged to come in here, fully change everything around, and make it fit exactly how your business wants to operate. So this overview tab contains all the fields, and I'll definitely come back. I'll teach you a little bit about the field customization before the end of this demo. But let's get back to the topic at hand, which is Jake just called us, and he wants to know about the status of this opportunity. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to utilize that 360 feature again. By default, I've got it set up to load the contacts. I mean, the first thing I want to know is, well, do I have Jake in the system? Is Jake really an employee of Maxilon? And yeah, if I scroll down here, I'm going to see I've got a couple Jakes. I've got Jake McAllister right here. If I wanted to view details about this, you see it's very easy for me to bring this up, and I can view all of the various information about Jake. Now, Jake was talking about a sales opportunity, and if we've produced a quote yet. So just like earlier, you see I just changed this drop-down, and if I want to look at sales opportunities for this account, it's very simple. There's a list of every open sales opportunity. And if it had progressed to a quote, I can switch over to estimates and I can look at the history of quotes for this customer. But let's say that he now has a problem. So yeah, he wanted to know about this new deal going on, but now he pivots into reporting an issue with a project that you're currently working on for him. So we have an app for customer support. It's called the Cases app. It's your general ticketing system. And you could click Cases right here. This would show me all of the open cases that I have for this customer. And here's one other great thing you can do, which is all of our systems are interconnected in the manner where I can even create data from here. So if Jake is telling me about this problem and I need to create a ticket for him so we can make sure that we follow up and get him an answer to this question, I can actually create a brand new case right from here. It'll take me into the Cases application, but you'll see right there, it's already linked it up to this customer that we were just coming from. So that's one of the keys of Apptivo, is bringing everything together, not only so you can view data, but also to bring together the information of the processes you're about to work on. So if you need to create a case, you should be able to do it from wherever you were looking for that case in the first place. But let's say that you already knew that you needed to log a problem. There's nothing that stops you from coming straight to the Cases application and creating a case from right here. So everything is very unified, but it's also very flexible. However you need to execute that specific transaction, you'll be able to execute it in Apptivo from wherever you need to. Okay, so let's dive back to that customer and let's just spend a couple more minutes talking about those other features that we were looking at. So we just covered the Overview tab and the 360. Very, very common. And the one really closely related to the 360 is the newsfeed. Whereas the 360 just showed us every piece of data that's relevant to this customer, the newsfeed is going to break down the series of events that have happened related to this customer in chronological order. So if I just wanted to know when the last time somebody in my company spoke to this customer, I can use this newsfeed. And if you look in here, of course, this would track any changes such as if I had followed up with this customer in the last week, if I had maybe changed their address or something. All of those events would show up here, but it'll also show events from other applications. So here I can see even when somebody sends a new estimate to this customer, it pops up in that customer's newsfeed. And this is really something that's very unique to Apptivo, which is now I can look across all the divisions and I can figure out exactly what has been going on with each account that I have inside of my system. Very, very easy. Now, let's talk about these other tabs. One thing you might have noticed is we already saw the newsfeed when we went to the home page. And another thing we already saw was the task management. What we're looking at here is these tabs are actually exactly the same tabs that we saw on the home page. As I mentioned, those are common collaboration features available in every app. So what we have here are the filtered views. It's the same exact feature. If I create a task or if I look at a task from here, this will be absolutely identical to what we saw when we first logged in. But the difference is this is only going to show tasks that are assigned directly to this customer account. So this way it's very easy for me to be able to come here and say, well, do I have any appointments coming up with this customer? No, I have nothing on the calendar. And I could go ahead and I could schedule something in right here. So you'll see if I schedule an appointment, it works just like you might be used to with Google Calendar or Outlook, whatever your system might be. And then I can come in here and I can type in some details. It's all connected to all the other apps. So you'll see here, I don't have to type in employee names or email addresses. I just get to search my existing employee database. Same thing with the contacts. If I want to invite one of my contacts from the CRM, I'm able to instantly search them and add them in there as well. And one great thing is this feature actually syncs up with Google Apps. So I'll come back to this in just a moment and I'll explain all the Google Apps integrations together. But what we've got here is I've just put an appointment in. So let's say that the series of events. So originally the customer called us up. They wanted to know about the status of their opportunity, and then they reported a new problem to us. And then they requested an in-person meeting next week to discuss that problem. So what we did was we just came here and we put in that meeting form. The idea is that when you schedule a meeting in, it's actually linked up to this customer. So I can kind of forget about it at this point. So I can move on, I can go perform my other tasks, pick up my next phone call, and just kind of not remember this. And the idea is that every day when I log in, I will come in and I'm going to be logged into this page, my central user dashboard. I have the same calendar feature here, so if I click on my calendar, it's going to show me not only that appointment that we just entered, but it'll show me every other appointment from anywhere else within the system. So this way it's very easy for me to figure out just what's on my agenda in general, or to figure out what's on the agenda for any specific record in the system. And all of these central collaboration features work in exactly the same manner. So let me just kind of quickly run through these and explain the primary purpose of these. These collaboration features. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to dive back into the customer, and we're going to take a look at this Maxilon again. Now what these collaboration features are made up of are two primary things. One is communicating with the customer and tracking the communication with the customer in here. So if you need to remember what you said to them last week, you don't have to just keep that in memory. You can just come to their record, look in the CRM, and find it. And the other thing is tracking reminders, making sure that you never miss a follow-up, that you always know what's on your agenda for the next day, week, month, way off into the future. So what these are broken apart into is those two categories, and we have the calendar and the follow-ups. These are reminders to communicate with the customer. So if I talk to Jake and I'm speaking with him and he asks for a follow-up next week just to make sure that the case has been resolved and is all working okay, I can very easily go ahead and I can schedule follow-up in, and I can just put in a quick little date and a note. But let's say that Jake had set an appointment. He says, actually, I would like you to come by the office next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. That's exactly what the calendar is for. So the appointments and the follow-ups are extremely similar to each other. It's just that a calendar event has a date and time, but a follow-up is just a date and a note. The task is your other type of reminder, and this is your bucket for everything else. A task is more of a to-do list that you're going to handle internally. So inside of the tasks, the common use for this would be something like writing up a sales contract, or if you need to produce some sort of document. Maybe you just need to go perform some research on a topic, or you need to go to the post office and send out a package to one of your customers. Any sort of assignable piece of work that involves some sort of deliverable that you need to work on, you're going to have this tasks feature to make sure you record everything and when it might be due. And with tasks, you have the ability to prioritize them, you can categorize them, many different ways to help you keep them organized. So those are the three types of ways you might set a reminder for yourself. So if you check your central calendar, your follow-ups, and your task list, that's 100% of the activities you need to work on in the business. Otherwise, the communication is mostly for historical purposes. So we have this call logs right here. So whenever you call a customer, you can take down some brief notes, who you spoke with, who called who, how long it lasted, just so you can remember exactly what you were speaking about at that time. And we also have great email integration. So here, I can actually not only send email to my customers, but our system will track incoming email from your customers. Now, this is a great point where let's stop and let's take a quick moment to talk about the Google Apps integrations. All these common collaboration features we've just spoken about, they're basically all integrated with Google Apps. So if you're a Google Apps user or even an Outlook user, you're very familiar with the concept of having tasks versus a calendar. And Google separates them, so do we. And you guessed it, that both of these services actually sync directly with Google. So when I put an appointment into Apptivo, right away it's going to instantly go into my Google Calendar. It'll transfer onto my phone, everything that you're already used to. Same thing with your follow-ups. Your follow-ups will actually go onto your Google Calendar as well. Whereas the tasks, we sync with the standalone Google Tasks service. But let's talk about the email real quick, because this is one of the things that we do just about best in class. So with the email, you're going to be able to connect any IMAP email account to Apptivo. And this means that I can, yes, deliver email from within the system. So I can send an email off. It's connected directly into your CRM's contact database. It also has an email template system, so I can very easily put in like standard sales follow-up messages. And you'll notice the template can even be personalized based on who you're sending it to. And then the greatest part about our email is actually the ability to track incoming email. So you can connect Google Apps or any other IMAP account. And the way that it works is we constantly monitor your email. And if we see any emails sent from this customer, who's Maxine Johnson at Gmail, you'll see it pops up right here in the inbox. Doesn't matter where you received it from. If they send it from their cell phone, if they send it from their own Gmail account, if they send it from Outlook, it'll all show up here. And now even the email you send back to Maxine would show up right here as well. So let me just kind of quickly explain this scenario. So let's say that you sent an email originally from Apptivo, goes off to Maxine. A couple days later, Maxine responds to you, but you're on the go. So you just pull out your cell phone, you read your email on your iPhone, and then you decide to respond to Maxine right there. Automatically, our system's going to read that email, even though it was sent from your phone, and we will show it in the sent folder right here. So everything is designed to stay completely in sync, where you don't have to worry about how you're communicating via email. All you have to know is that when you come to Apptivo, your email is going to be there. The last Google integration, actually there's two more Google integrations. One of them is the contact sync, which is it just keeps all of your CRM contacts in sync with Google. Great standalone feature lots of people use, but we're not going to cover that in too much detail. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the documents integration. So throughout the system, we also have two more common features, which are notes and documents. Notes, I don't think needs much introduction. You're able to easily type in notes, common basic collaboration feature. Almost every system has it, but you're going to use it all the time. And then the documents feature. This allows you to store any sort of relevant documents anywhere in the system. So this could be a set of requirements for a project. It could be a set of photos of a problem as you're working on a work order. Or in this case, it could be like a sales contract that you signed with the customer. So here you can see a big list of documents I've got that are relevant to this customer. But instead of just uploading from the system, you'll notice we have integrations with both Google and Dropbox. So I can actually just, instead of searching and storing something in the Apptivo database, I get to search my Google database in real time and just link the document from there instead. All right, so these are all the common collaboration features. A couple more of the components available in every app that I'm just going to run through real quick. Every app has built-in reports. These reports will change based on the app, do everything from sales tracking, revenue reporting, activity reporting to figure out who called who, everything like that. Every app has built-in email notifications, so you'll see you can go through, look at all those events, and decide which ones will get sent to you via email. You'll have CSV import capabilities for those of you who are coming from another system or a big list of spreadsheets. We can bring your data right into Apptivo in bulk. And every app is highly customizable. So there's tons of different settings. No way we can cover them all today, but let me just tell you a couple of things that you can do. One of the things is changing all the fields and all the preferences inside of here. So let's say, for example, you see that we have these different types of phone numbers that you can store. Home, business, fax. Let's say, in your case, we have a business defaulted to the top. But maybe you deal directly with all consumers. You never talk to businesses. So the home number or the mobile number is way more common for you. This is all drag and drop customizable. So I could totally turn off the business number, if I'm not already using it in this case, and I can rearrange them. I could even create my own types of phone numbers. This is fully flexible for you to use on your own. And this really goes for every field in Apptivo. So earlier I mentioned you can create your own field, you can add checkboxes, everything like that. Check this out. This is a drag and drop interface and allows you to fully customize each piece of data stored in the system. So if you wanted to add in your own text field, you just drag it over here, click on it, name it whatever you want, and then that instantly becomes available to type in. And you can do checkboxes, drop-down menus, currency items, just about anything in here. It's all completely flexible. These fields can be secured, so they're protected, only visible to certain users. You can share them with other apps, and you can even do things like deleting our fields. So let's say you never get the Skype information for a customer. It's just an extra field. You can completely delete it from the system. As far as all these other settings, many different things, controlling the email templates, controlling the numbering in here, many more security controls to help protect data from the proper people, and you could even do things such as controlling like the navigation that appears inside of each app. Lots and lots of different flexibility options here. All right. So the only key about this settings is just remember that each app actually has its own settings. So all of these settings we're looking at right here, this is just for the customer's app. So Apptivo is definitely designed to be a generic platform that's highly customizable for any company. Okay, so what we've just covered are the common features, the things you can count on regardless of how you're going to utilize the Apptivo system. But the last little bit of this, what we're going to talk about is how you're going to adopt Apptivo for your company. Because what you're doing in here is a lot of business flows. You're tracking sales. You're quoting customers. You're tracking all the hours you spend on a project. You're billing your customers. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a quick moment to answer a few questions that have popped up. So the first question is there a way to make a simple form on our website that creates a new lead? Does it take serious programming for a non-WordPress website? And the answer is, well, yes, you can definitely put this form on your website. It's not that serious of programming, but it definitely depends on who your web host is. What I would recommend doing on this one is go ahead and just how to add a lead form on my website, Apptivo. We have an article specifically on this that kind of runs through it. There's a couple different options. First of all, if you do have a WordPress website, we have a built-in plugin. You need no technical skills. You can install that plugin and you can put a nice basic lead form on your website. If you don't have a WordPress website, it will get a little more advanced. We have a completely open developer API, and this allows you to do anything from a basic setup where you could copy-paste some code that you find online. We actually have lots of online examples available for you to do, but it will take a little bit of knowledge in either PHP or some other programming language to get functional. If you don't have those capabilities, you can definitely contact us. There'll be some service fees involved, but we can get you connected with a professional who can get that connected to your website. Okay, and then somebody else just asked, could you explain the difference between types and categories? And this is something that's unique to the Contacts app. So let me give some context to this question very quickly, which is in the Contacts app, there's a field called Contact Category, and there's a field called Contact Type. The category is the main field. The category is how you differentiate your contacts from each other. So this could be lawyer, attorney, business owner, CEO, consultant, whatever it might be. The type is actually their relationship with a specific customer. So let's say that you have a consultant and they are the CEO of their own consulting company who's your customer. But then they advise another one of your customers. So what you can do is you can set them up as an advisor to one of the customers, and you can set them up as a consultant to the other. But let's just keep in mind, let's say that you don't want to utilize both those fields. The customization of Apptivo comes into play. So let's say that's just too complicated for my process. I want to keep it nice and simple. Delete contact type. I can come through here. I can shut off all those features I don't want. I don't have to worry about them at all. And then it'll instantly update it. So now, if my process only needs to have one type of categorization for contacts, right there. I've totally simplified my process, and now I only have to work off that one field. So I just wanted to demonstrate that because that's definitely one of the things where if you see something that you think is a little confusing or just doesn't really make sense for your business, feel free to just remove it. What we've provided for you is simply a suggestion on how to get started. We absolutely recommend that you customize this data to really fit what your business needs to track. Anything you don't think you're going to utilize and benefit from, you should definitely remove. All it does is simplify the process for not only you, but any of your colleagues who might have to utilize the system. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's talk about a couple of those business flows real quick. And by business flow, what I mean is the ability to go from one stage to the other. So let's kind of run through a real life scenario. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to very quickly demonstrate one of those end-to-end business flows. I'm going to demonstrate the service delivery flow. Now, what this is an entire life cycle of a customer. Let's start off with them first contacting you from the website, and then you need to qualify them. You'll call them up a couple times. You'll speak to them. We're going to learn about their requirements, and then we need to give them a quote. So in this demo company, I'm an IT consulting company. A company might call up this Global Tech example because they're setting up a new office and they want us to come install all the computers, set everything up for them. So we can track the sale when they're going through the process of talking to us, figuring out if we're the right business for them. We can give them an official quote, send it to them online, and if they choose to move forward with us, we can now schedule a work order to send our techs on site, and finally we can bill them for all the services. So this is one of these end-to-end business flows, and I'm just going to give you a taste for how the data can transfer through Apptivo. I definitely don't expect you to be able to reproduce this whole flow after watching me real quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how the capabilities of how Apptivo can transfer data, and then at the very end, I'm going to leave you with some guidance on how to go get more detailed instructions on each one of these business-specific flows. So with that, let's go ahead and let's get started. Business will start off in the stage of a lead. This is an unqualified deal where usually you just got a name and a number, and that's it. So they contact us through the website. And we just have a couple basic details. Brand new, we can determine where it came from, who it's assigned to, and maybe we have some information on them. So I'll go ahead and I'll just key in the details on that lead. They just came from the website, so one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to get in touch with them. We got to learn more about this deal. See if we're really the right fit for them. So you're either going to call them, you're going to email them, or you're going to go over to their office and meet them on site. However you communicate with them, you're just going to make sure that you record that afterwards. So let's say that we just give them a quick call, and afterwards we want to go ahead and log that call. So just quickly call them, 5-minute conversation. They said, yeah, we're definitely interested in your services. You sound like a good fit. We're going to be looking to start exploring this next week. So what we'll do is, in order to make sure that we don't forget, we'll go use that follow-ups feature, and we can schedule a follow-up in right here. So as we talked about before, at this point I basically just get to forget about this lead. I could go process 30 other leads. I come in next week, I got my centralized follow-ups dashboard, and right here we can see my follow-up for that lead. So I've got 2 follow-ups on this day, and when I want to handle this one, I just get to click, take me straight back into that lead. Now this lead, let's say at this point I email them. Okay, so I go ahead, I can send them an email, same kind of capabilities we had before. I can send them a first sales follow-up. Bam, easy, pulls in all the information we've already stored in there, and I can send it straight off to them. And then let's say that Larry responds, and he gives me a little bit of information. So what you're going to want to constantly do is update everything you know inside of this lead. So let's say if you get sick, one of your colleagues can pick up on it, or if you're like me and you just have a bad memory, well, you can come back in here and your CRM system will tell you exactly what you spoke about. So if I had learned more about this deal, such as like what their budget is and when they actually think the move is going to go through, I can come through and I can start recording all these details right here. So you see it's very, very fast for me to take in this information. And then once I've recorded everything that I know about this customer at this time, I can go ahead and I can move it to the next stage. So our system is all about taking the data you've typed in and moving it on to the next stage. So let's take this and let's convert it. In this case, this is kind of a standard CRM flow. We're going to create a couple different records from the information stored in this lead. So what you'll see during this process is we're creating that customer profile like we were looking at earlier. It'll take all the information relevant to the business, like the company name, their address details, and stuff like that. The contact is just for that individual person. So this could take like their cell phone number, their home address, and items like that, maybe their hobbies or the foods that they like. The opportunity is for that actual business deal. So this is like Engelhart Co. They're setting up a new office and they need us to install their new network. So I'm going to name that for the deal itself because I can potentially have multiple deals with this client in the future. And you'll see once we get into opportunities, now we have some projection capabilities because we're going to be able to build out our sales pipeline from this. So let's say that we're only fairly confident that this is going to go through. So once I've completed that, everything in our system is always interlinked. Instantly you can see there's a link to the customer profile, a link to that opportunity, and to the contacts. But of course I could also just go straight to the opportunities application, and we've already got our data created there. The Opportunities app is this awesome pipeline view, so I can see how much revenue I'm expecting over the next few months. But we can browse through, and we can find that that opportunity is sitting there and set to close in May. So just like the customer in the lead, we have this nice detailed view, same kind of structure with all the tabs on the top of the page, very, very familiar looking. And at this point, you're doing much of the same thing. You're emailing them, you're calling them, you're recording tasks, you're updating information. One cool thing we have at this point is there's actually an integration with the items, the product database in your system. So here, if I knew that they were going to require some certain network equipment, I can go ahead and I can put these details in right here. So they need some servers, and maybe they also needed like some cabling. Oops. So I can get all my information stored in the sales opportunity, and then we mentioned the next step is to give them a quote. So let's say I need to email off a quote to them. There we go. We have a built-in business flow to go to an estimate. Although take note that I actually could go to an invoice directly, or I could enable different business flows. This is another one of those configurable options. The Estimates app does our quotes for us. You'll see it's interfaced with everything else, so it pulls in the customer contact details. It knows exactly where to email it to because of those records. Those products that we attached earlier, well, they already have standard prices. They have a standard description, so it just gets that information from the product database. And there's lots of different custom details we can track here, such as, okay, well, which supplier are we going to purchase this product from? We can get very complex in this respect. And let's say we also wanted to type in some hourly services as well. Very, very simple for me to go through there and build out my quote. I can configure any taxes that I need to adhere to and get everything all polished up. Once I'm ready to send it out, I can go ahead and I can email this quote straight to the customer. Now our quoting application is built in with the same email functionality, and we do a couple cool things here. We'll automatically generate a PDF file of this quote so they can download it and store it on their computers, print it out, whatever they'd like to do. But if they would like to, they would also be able to review this quote online. So they can click on a link inside of that email, and they can actually completely review the details of your quote with your logo and everything on it. And there's even an online approval form. So they can choose to approve this quote, and then instantly it'll shoot you an email, and you can come back into your Apptivo system and move that quote on to the next stage. So here we're looking at the estimate. We could easily sort through and look at only our approved estimates, so we know which one to take to the next stage. And right there on the top of the list is our estimate for Larry Engelhart. So we've got our estimate here, and it's been approved. So now what we mentioned is we need to schedule a work order. We need to send our employees on site. So once again, you got a button in the upper right corner, probably noticing some consistency at this point, and I can move right on to a work order. Once again, all of your data is copied over. Here's all my products, all the same information. I don't have to do anything. All I would have to do is assign this to whoever I want to actually go on site and address it. Or I could even assign it to a group of employees. Lots of different flexibility here. So I create that work order. I could, let's say, use my Google Calendar integration so I can put an appointment in for my employee schedules. And I can get everything scheduled in. So instantly, this goes off to my employee's Google Calendar, goes to their cell phone, they know what they have to handle, and yes, you guessed it, the work order itself can be moved on to the last stage, which is an invoice. So the final part, you see all my data once again is copied over, everything's the same, and I can email this invoice to my customer. Of course, there's many different features that we just skipped in that whole flow, but the idea is just to give you a feel for the business flows, the operations that you can do inside of Apptivo. Everything we just did can be done in a different order. You can utilize different apps, or I could start from any stage in the process. That's just simply one example of what you can accomplish. So with that, let's go ahead and let's tie this off with just a couple pointers on how you can get started for yourself. So first of all, I'm on the Apptivo.com website, and I want to show you where you can get further information and get help. One of the first steps in getting set up with Apptivo is selecting the right solution for you. So what you can do is you can actually head on over to our community page here in the upper right corner of our website. And on this community page, you'll see that we actually have listed out a couple basic setup guides. So if you need to know how to add users or how to import your data or how to go configure your contact categories versus your contact types, got a couple nice quick guides for you right here. And then we also list our three primary solutions, which we covered before. This is for a company who sells physical products. This is for a company who is service-based but sends their employees on-site to deliver the service. And this is for a company who's service-based but they handle their services internally. So you want the project management system. You can utilize any combination of these apps, no problem, but we definitely recommend figuring out which one of these solutions would be right for you in the ideal scenario. And then the next step is figuring out, well, which apps do you need right now? Almost everybody has a need for CRM, but maybe you don't need invoicing right now because, like you said, you already have QuickBooks. So you could choose to do that one last. So general guidance is you get set up with Apptivo, get your users in there, import your data a little bit, figure out what solution is right for you, and then figure out which apps that you want to start with first. All right. So once you picked your solution, if you wanted to get a more detailed breakdown on how that whole flow works, so for example, let's say that work order flow we just went through, that is right for your company. If you want a good presentation on just the work order flow, you'll see I came back to our homepage and I'm looking in the bottom right corner, and we have a couple pre-recorded webinars. Today, we ran through the general Apptivo demo, which is your standard introduction, but you can also look that there's one video for each specific solution that we just spoke about. So the managing a service delivery process, that will go in depth on just that work order flow, and it'll break everything down for you. And you could also pick one of these other solutions that's right for your company. All right, so the last piece I'll leave you with is just how to get help. If you need any assistance with Apptivo moving forward, go ahead and you can get in contact with us in several different ways. You can come to our community page. You'll see there's a whole online knowledge base right here. So you can either search through it, or you could browse through each app by app and find the information we have for that app. Or you can chat with us. Everywhere inside of Apptivo, we have an online agent available. We're known to have one of the best support systems available for any sort of ERP system out there. Otherwise, we have 24/7 email support. Just contact support@apptivo.com. Or 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time for our premium customers, you can actually give us a call. We have a public sales and support line, and you can see the number right here. Okay, so that's it for today's webinar. I hope everybody found it to be quite beneficial, and thanks for using Apptivo. We'll see you next time. Thanks.